Hey guys, my name is Eric, and today I'm going to be doing a special episode where I answer all of your guys' questions. So you guys submitted questions on a comment post, and I'm going to be going through those questions and just kind of answering them, whether it's about preparedness, gear, God, or what it means to be a prepared citizen. So let's go ahead and get into it. Hey guys, thanks for checking out another HatchetCast episode. And today I'm going to be talking about things that you guys want me to talk about. I'll be answering some of the questions that you guys posted. I did a post recently on YouTube where I was like, hey, if you have questions about guns, gear, God, equipment, I'll be answering those, and that's what today's about. Before we get started, guys, I want to talk about, continuous sponsor of the channel. We can't do this without our sponsors, and that is Wetworks. Now, Wetworks is a gear company out of Texas. It's a husband and wife that run that shop, and really good people. They make really good nylon gear, and one of the things they have is the Pathfinder 7. So this is a 7-cell chest rig. It has MOLLE on the entire front, so I'm actually running Lunar Concepts guppy pouches. So there's these general purpose pouches, but I have a ton of ammo that I can carry. We're gonna be doing an episode on reconnaissance and scouts, and having a lot of ammo is super important. So having a good chest rig that's just kind of basic and plain that allows me to have a lot more versatility is super important. So if you guys want to save some money, they're a great supporter of the channel. Use the discount code at the ticker of this video or look in the description of this video to save some money if you need some gear. But special thanks to Wetworks for sponsoring this video. All right guys, so I'm gonna go ahead and bust into the questions, and I'm just gonna go through the list. You guys put out a lot of questions. I do got my buddy Erin here with me. We're filming some B-roll for the scout and reconnaissance episode. Super excited about that one. But let's see what you guys have as far as questions. All right, so first question here, or first comment we got, regarding faith, how do you be content with what you have versus being growth-oriented and not falling into complacency? This is literally what we talked about today. Sometimes I have to, and Ed, who's running the camera right now, we talked about this literally this morning about praying for complacency. We are always, I know for myself, speaking from my personal experience, I'm always not content. I always want more things. I want that next piece of gear. I want to have this nicer house. I want to have a better car. And so sometimes we have to pray for a complacent heart because, Christ was content with what he had, not a complacent heart. Pray for a content heart. And being content with what God's given us. And, no matter how little or how most you have, if you have a heart of contentment, which you have to ask God for, that's a heart that Christ has, then you'll always have peace. You'll always be happy. You won't have that desire to, I need to work for this next thing. The only time where I'm not content is with my relationship with the Lord. I'm always wanting to be like him more. I'm not perfect at it. I'm working at it constantly, but, yeah, something that you have to pray about. From a multi-day patrol loadout, foot and mounted, from what's on your personal to kit that's in your ruck, what do I run? So right now, as far as like my chest rig, let's just say, for example, I'm in a reconnaissance role and I'm wearing a chest rig. I don't need plates, or I'm not wearing a plate carrier because I'm hoping I don't get into a fight. For my chest rig, it's my first line of gear. So ammo, if I obviously have extra ammo in my rucksack, but I have ammo that's on me. I'll also carry some type of, water purification directly on my body. I'll carry a compass and GPS and map pouches directly on my body, as well as a small boo-boo kit and camouflage kit. Obviously, I have my own comms. In a rucksack, I may have a bigger radio, so that way I can push out farther, whether it's a 10 watt or a 20 watt radio, so that way I can broadcast out, especially for a reconnaissance type mission. But if I have to ditch my ruck for whatever reason, say for example, we're gonna do an ambush and I need to leave my rucksack at an ORP so I can go do a leader's recon of an objective area, and I get into a fight and I'm not able to make it back to the ORP, can I still survive and fight with what I have on my body? So sometimes I also carry some water bottles in my pocket, or a canteen inside of a small general purpose pouch, so that way I have the ability to drink water, purify the water, fight because I've got ammo, have maybe multi-tools and stuff like that on my kit, so that way I can solve whatever problems. The big thing is having enough on your body, so if you don't have your rucksack, you can still fight and survive. Your rucksack is going to have all of your sustainment, so radio, extra water, a poncho that I can use to not only build a hide site, but I can also cover my gear with it. I can stay warm, I can stay dry, I can add it to my hide if I'm doing a recce. That stuff is super important. I can lay it out and if the ground is wet, I can lay out a poncho and have my equipment laid out there without getting wet. So poncho or anything multi-purpose is going to be absolutely huge. The big thing is for your rucksack and your chest rig, it needs to be mission dependent. I know MET-TC is a cop-out, but it really does need to be mission dependent. Some of those baseline things though, like I said, multi-purpose type of equipment, navigation, sustainment, and the ability to fight. That's what I carry on my direct person. Anything in my rucksack is going to support that and enhance that capability. A comms breakdown. So that's a very broad term. Big thing is I will at least have a, this is a 10 watt Baofeng radio. Remember with comms, 2 is 1, 1 is none. I'm running a push-to-talk trucker mic because it looks like a trucker mic. Some guys will run this. In Florida, it's super hot. It's like a jungle environment. So you can use this where you plug in a little like 3mm headphone jack and have one ear with a headphone in it. I also have push-to-talk that has the ability to accept a headset. So headset is good because it's noise canceling. The problem is it's super hot. So you can't have everything, right? For now, it's just the simplicity. I'm using a trucker mic because it's super hot. You can see the sweat on my face. But with my bigger radios, I'll have in the rucksack, but it goes back to this, like 2 is 1, 1 is none. So have doubles of everything, because with radio equipment, you're gonna have to troubleshoot if things go wrong, and your comms are your lifeline. So especially in a civilian setting, prepared citizen, you wanna have comms and you wanna make sure they work and you're not out of equipment. What is your go-to long-term food storage, and what is your source for clean drinking water? Do you have food storage, Aaron?
I do. Mine I got through, I can't remember where. It was some supply company online, but they give you a 3-month pack of different things, breads, easy, quick meals. The biggest thing you need is some type of water and then some type of source to cook it with.
Yeah.
I think it was like Ready Survival or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. But I have about 6 months worth of supply at home, another supply with water, and then some water purification between tablets, straws, and so forth.
Yeah, I have like a Berkey filter at my house. We use it all the time. But that type of emergency food is good for like short term and emergencies. So long-term food storage, you honestly want to have some supplies, but having a community, if you guys can pull your resources together, or you go to a property, if crap hits the fan, you bring a tent, you bring your family, and you start bringing supplies to that general area so you can start a community, that's going to help you to thrive. But hunting, trapping, fishing, like all of those skills are going to give you your long-term sustainment, and also the ability to plant. That obviously takes a lot of time, but back in the day, everybody in the village knew how to hunt. So you always had that good source of food. And then the emergency food storage is if like, it's in the winter, or there's not a lot of hunting opportunities around, or you don't have the ability to fish. That's when you start to dip into that. The other thing is like MREs, or long-term food storage, is if I'm sending guys out on a mission, like they're gonna go do a recce and they're gonna be out for multi-day, they obviously can't hunt and they need something fast and compact and light to eat. So I'd save some of that food storage for those type of guys running those missions for the community. So something to think about. For civil unrest loadout for states without open carry. Someone said, honestly, more people just need to think like outlaws. If you're at a point that civil unrest is so bad you're needing a weapon, are you really concerned about the cops or the law? Really sit and go through the situation in your head and ask yourself this stuff. What kind of civil unrest? How widespread is it preventing from you living your normal life or work? What kind of weaponry are the unrest folks using? Is the government mass shooting or enacting any sort of martial law? Is there curfews? Is it statewide, regional, or national? All this stuff you write down or go over in your head, it's what's known as a threat level assessment. Once you figure out your threat level, that'll answer your question. I think I agree with what he's saying. If we're at a point where it's like Syria and you've got the Druze people group and the Druze Christians who are being absolutely slaughtered, you just go with what you got. And as a conflict traditionally will continue, more and more weapons and supplies will become available. And that's where you have doing those resupplies or looking for equipment and kind of scavenging for that stuff will give you the ability to sustain longer. But it goes back to MET-TC. Like for me, I just have the general, obviously being in the gun industry, I've got a lot of that type of equipment, but not neglecting the food storage, not neglecting, making sure your car's reliable, not neglecting, those types of things, having a go bag, that stuff will be important. The stuff that's not Gucci, having a med kit, that's another big one.
I think a big part of it is being situationally aware of what's going on from day to day. So if you know that, nothing's going on, it's just a peaceful day, you might not be carrying as much in your truck or your vehicle, whatever else it may be. You may just have just your EDC and so forth. But if you know there's been riots going on, there's protesting going on, things have been escalating quite quickly, there's lots of looting, and you don't want to travel across the city, but you have to, you're going to up some stuff. Maybe you might have like a day bag in there, you might have some medical supplies more, you might have, just different things, but I think it's all dependent on what's going on from day to day for the most part.
Yeah, and also it's like one of those things where we have the luxury of living in a time where we have the ability to buy a bunch of stuff and kind of develop reasons. All that extra gear and equipment doesn't go to waste, because if you have a community and crap does hit the fan, now you can outfit people, or you have a community armory that if you have different mission sets, now you have all these different types of weaponry that you can use to tailor to your mission set. So it doesn't go to waste, and it's a great way to prepare, but also I'm not saying be a consumerism, support consumerism, but it's a double-edged sword, because for the brace stuff or the the FRT thing or all that type of stuff, mostly the braces, the reason why it was hard for legislation to get passed against it is there's just so many of them in circulation, right? They even tried banning body armor. Yep. So because there's so much in circulation, it's hard for them to pass legislation to outlaw it. So that's where it's a double-edged sword, where it's not bad. The key is just like buying stuff just because you have all these imaginary things in your head and you're not going out and training. Go out and train. That's the big thing. When you finally build a team and do start training, what are the specific small unit tactical drills that are most effective and necessary to train on as a team once each member has accomplished the basic shooting fundamentals? That's the key one. I agree with that. When you're looking at roving gangs, breakdown of societal structure, disaster areas, and obviously help is not coming. Big thing is, if you have a team of guys, communication. How do I get in communication if there is no cell phone? If there is no way, the roads are obstructed, can I get a hold of my buddy? Because if you're all separated via geography and you don't have comms to be able to get a hold of each other, then you're kind of up a creek. Remember, communication is your lifeline. So getting really good at communication, and then just go through the Ranger Handbook. As a cop-out of an answer as that is, it is the Bible of infantry tactics. So a lot of that resource is online. The Marines have their own handbook kind of covering small unit tactics. You can buy it for free and just kind of go through that as a group. And you don't even have to have weapons. You can have, rubber dummies or sticks, just going through the process of figuring out hand signals and different formations and react to contact. You can do all that stuff in the backyard. It's a lot smaller scale, but it doesn't take a lot to be able to practice those. So just start off with the Ranger Handbook. Regarding gear, how and where do you prefer your water setup? I guess I'll start from that one. I usually will carry a canteen, or I'll have water bottles in my pocket. The only problem with water bottles is when you drink them, they crinkle up. So if you're going to drink it, kind of squeeze all the air out of it and then cap it, so that way it doesn't have that extra air in there to make noise. But mostly a canteen or an Nalgene. And then my other water is in my rucksack. I usually have it at the very top, so that way I have high weight, but if I have to refill it, I don't have to undo my entire ruck with all the gear. I can just fill it up really quick. It's on the top. And also it's easier for that Camelback hose to get to me, but where it's easily accessible.
I'd say about the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, as a Christian, what's your opinion on taking up arms in the sense of either self-defense or crap hits the fan? That is a really good one. God, I think there's a difference in the Bible when we see it between killing and murder, right? You had David and his mighty men. They slayed their thousands in combat, right? And he was the man after God's own heart. He was a warrior. Jesus is also called the commander of the armies of heaven. So we have this understanding of God in the ability to also create or wage war against enemies, right? So murder, it goes back to a thing of the heart. If I'm going with anger in my heart and going with evil intent to destroy someone, that is murder. But if you're in the military or you're a soldier or you're protecting your family, that is you being a warrior. So it goes back to the heart. If you have the ability to protect your family without having to take a life, and you do so with, making sure you don't have malice in your heart, that's the difference. So it goes back to the difference between killing and murder. It's a hard issue. Dealing with a spouse that's so faith-based that it's unnecessary to protect yourself or your family. That's on you, I think. Yeah, I mean, just because I have faith in the Lord to protect me doesn't mean that, I won't train or have a firearm. I live in a country where we're blessed to have that capability, but also I think if you are a warrior at your core, it is your responsibility to defend other people who may not be believers that would need protection. So your first charge as a man is your family, protecting your family and watching out for them, guiding them in the Lord, providing for them. That is your first mission set. How to connect Howard Light electronic hearing protection to a Team Wendy helmet. Also, how to attach night vision and what equipment is needed. Do you have Howard Lights, or have you ever done that?
I don't have Howard Lights. I have Swordens. I went with, I think it's Axial.
Axle, yeah.
Axle. I went with their extension arms. They give you different kits for Ops Core, Sworden. I'm pretty sure Howard, Walkers, they give you all that stuff. Videos and tutorials, how to mount them and whatnot. There was something else. That's for the most part. Yeah. That's how I mounted mine to my Ops Core helmet.
Yeah, I run Peltors and the Ops Core amps. Higher price point. Definitely don't feel like you need to get that, especially if you're starting out in comms. But if you are going to get comms long term and you want something reliable, that's where you're paying. What you're paying for. You're paying for that reliability. But as far as the Howard Lights, I know the one thing that would be a concern is the 3mm jack that goes inside the Howard Lights isn't waterproof or sealed. So if you get water in that, you're gonna have a problem. So if you're gonna do that, just make sure you have multiple, so that way 2 is 1, 1 is none.
Right.
Regarding current events, and I feel like this is a question everyone should ask themselves, where do you draw the line, or what point would things have to get to you for you to decide to get your kit together, huddle with your community, and actually do the things you've been training for? What exact events would have to take place for deciding the tipping point of combating tyranny in the future? It goes back to, I don't think we'll know. And then when we do know, you'll know. Like, it'll be one of those things where it will be a unanimous understanding that this is where we're at in society, right? This is the historical point that we're at. If you look at, like in Syria, you have insurgents that are going into Druze villages and just massacring them.
Right.
Okay, that's a point where it's like time to get the community together. But I think it's one of those things where you keep your ear to the ground. You are constantly making sure that you're watching as much news where you're not getting freaked out, but it's also good news where you can kind of have your situational awareness about you, and then continue to pray and seek the Lord in all things. So
what was it like when the riots in LA happened? People took arms and they went up the rooftops to protect their businesses and whatnot. That was one of those times where it's like that was needed because law enforcement wasn't doing their job as needed and so forth.
Yeah, I think you'll just know when that time comes. Question about training. Once Bone Valley Industries is completed, will there be more classes scheduled? Yes, there's actually already classes scheduled at Bone Valley. So if you go to the Barrel Hatchet calendar, you can kind of see those. We do have some classes at Element up in Holt, Florida, and also a Minuteman Symposium in Texas. It's the first time I've ever gone to Texas to hold a class. It's with Sidewinder Concepts, so it's a 3-day course. We're gonna be staying there. We'll be fellowshipping with guys who stay there, so you're gonna be hanging out with us all night, all day, training and fellowshipping in the evening, and it'll be a great time, but that's also on the calendar. When is righteous anger okay and not sin? Obviously stand your ground in a life or death situation, but what about when someone is attacking you based on you following Christ? Badgering, harassing, are we permitted to use equal violence where non-lethal violence rears its head? I think it's one of those things, always try to de-escalate, whether that's you egressing, getting out of there. I think that if you have to stand your ground, one, you have to have the training to be able to assess the situation properly. But if you go to like a force on force class or like a church security, if you're part of that team and you go to a church security training event, that's something that you would definitely look into. Like cops are not masters, but they practice de-escalating all the time. So it goes back to use of force. What are you allowed to do legally? You know, and at the end of the day, you have to kind of make that decision on your own. There is no cookie cutter answer for that. Have you ever shot Bellome 7.62x39 brass case ammo? If so, what do you think of this brand? I ran some recently for the AK video and it ran great. Another thing on gear, many will not have a chest rig type setup. Think possible bags, haversack. Okay, this is a gear thing. Is phosphate, chrome lined barrels, and bolt carrier groups best for durability, or has it become a preference / peace of mind mentality? And then second question, what is your favorite New Testament Bible verse? If you can't decide on one, from be Jesus from another. Okay, that's kind of weird. But so phosphate chrome line, do you think it's a legit thing or just standard stainless steel?
That's a good question. I've ran a few of them. I've put maybe a total of between 20,000 rounds on, you know, phosphate, this, that, and none of them seem, the thing that wears out the faster, like the extractors, the stuff like that, the gas rings. Other than that, like as long as you have, you know, decent maintenance, you'll keep it oiled and so forth. I haven't seen a real big issue. It's like, comes down to quality parts, I feel like.
Yeah.
Who's making it? Is it within tolerance and so forth? And then maintenance.
I say get what you can afford. Get a quality barrel so that way you can get to training and just start repping it out. If you cross that bridge because you're training so much and you're getting such a high round count where you need to replace your barrel, maybe have a barrel on hand. But for most people, most shooters that don't have the ability to shoot very often just because they're not able to afford ammo or just whatever, life stuff, just get whatever you can to be able to start training that's quality. As far as my favorite Bible verse, I have to look it up, dude. There's a verse in the Gospels where Paul says, I think it's in Timothy, where he is writing a verse or writing a book to Timothy, and it's his last letter that he writes before he's about to be killed in Rome, and he essentially talks about running his race well. And I'll get that reference for you about where that verse is at, but yeah, I just want to run my race well and serve the Lord in a way where he'd be pleased once my time is done. SPR or GPR? Which one would you go to in a scenario where you can only take one? SPR rifle with LPVO or MPVO with a piggyback dot, or a GPR with red dot and magnifier? I battle between these myself.
I would go with the GPR.
GPR?
GPR, just because it's, and the name is general purpose. So for the most part, you know, unless I'm doing something specialized, you know, watching somebody, I gotta take those precise shots, then sure, SPR. But I doubt that's going to come down to it, and you can still be just accurate with a red dot and magnifier. I
think it goes back to also like what you like. So if you're going to run SPR, it does give you a little bit more of that precision. You know, in the Recce episode that is coming out, I talked to Mike, who is the Force Recon sniper guy, and he said having a gas gun that can also do really good precision is a good capability to have. So depending on how heavy of a barrel you have in your GPR, you know, maybe that's a step up to get a DMR. I don't know, maybe so you have a little bit higher caliber for punching through barriers and stuff like that.
Are you saying it's MET-TC?
MET-TC, goes back to everything in this is MET-TC. Eric, I hope you and your family and friends and loved ones are doing good. I hope you too, man. Can you tell us a little bit about your process when it comes to putting jute and scrim on your rifle? What materials do you start with? Do you tie every single piece on individually or just use a big camo netting? Just like to know where you start because your guns are always looking sick. I usually do the scrim individually. So I'll put like, I'll take the jute and I'll tie it on itself, maybe sometimes in like strands like 4 or 5, but it's individually, and I wrap it around different things. The messier it looks, the better, the more natural it looks. And then if I'm feeling lazy, obviously I use a base layer of spray paint. So like that one got spray painted, but I'll do jute and scrim over top of that. The big thing is, whenever you're doing jute and scrim, don't do it in a way where you can't turn your dials or see your mills or adjust your parallax, or it's getting into the ejection chamber or ejection port of your rifle. Like, don't do it where it prohibits the function of the gun. So have fun with it, but it takes time. I don't know if you did this. What's your overall opinion of battle belts? What do you think is the optimal setup?
The one that works for you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Met TC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like I have a GBRS belt. I've used it for the last 4 or 5 years now. I've had no issues with it. I know some that use Wilder. I know some that use Fiero Concepts. It's just whatever works for you. I haven't heard anything bad about most of them.
Yeah.
You know, it's just how you set it up is the biggest part.
All the big brands that you know about are perfect and they're fine. Just get a belt, have the ability to carry a couple of pistol mags, carry a rifle mag, carry some med on you, and a holster, and go start training. So for battle belts though, when it comes to off range, if I'm doing like recce, like I'll have pouches like the Josta pouch that allows me to carry more admin stuff like extra batteries, smoke grenade, night vision. Just put it in my Josta pouch so that way I have it on me. That type of stuff. Easily, snacks. Put it in your fanny pack. Snacks a big deal, especially when you're rucking. If you could pick one rifle from all of your builds, which one would you pick? Emil, I don't know if I can answer that question.
That's a tough question.
If you forced my hand and I had to leave tomorrow to go do stuff, I'd probably pick out my 14.5 GPR. Just because it's all around. It's got a Leopold 2-10 on it. It's got a top dot. Roscoe heavy barrel, mid-length gas. It's actually going to be available soon. It's actually a prototype, the one that I show you. But there will be a limited run, and it's in cahoots with some other companies, but that build is what I would probably grab. Suppressor question. Between the Griffin Armament Dual Lock HRT 556 and the new Griffin Armament Optimus 6, which one would you choose for your 556 suppressor and why? Thank you for being a light in a dark world. I've never shot the HRT 556. I do have multiple Griffin Armament standard suppressors that are 556. I would choose the Optimus 6. One, the low back pressure is really good. It is extremely durable, and it has a lower signature under night vision and at night. And the weight's about the same as an RC2, and the diameter of the bore is a 6mm arc hole. So if you have a 556 style diameter, from my experience, I experience more back pressure because I've got less gas coming out the front. So it usually tends to be a little bit more gassy. Having the 6mm arc size hole allows more gas to come out the front, along with that low back pressure design that they have. But definitely the Optimus 6. It's my brand new, it's like my favorite suppressor right now. For 556. Covering long distance to securing different modes of transportation in order to make up ground than if all else fails walking. Your boots. What are the boots? I use Keen. I've been running Keens for a long time. I just go on Amazon and I keep buying the same exact model over and over again. I'm actually getting ready to buy a new pair. The reason I like Keens is because there's a huge toe box. Like my feet are really flat, and so I need my toes to spread out. So I bought these because the toe box is really flat. And you're right. What are you wearing?
Keens.
Keens.
Same thing.
Hey.
Yeah.
I will say from when you're fast roping, if you do that, it will eat up the inside. So just be cognizant of that. And then you'll have to tape your hooks.
I will say the toes are pretty spacious in there.
Very spacious.
Yeah.
Outside of shooting and firearms proficiency, what would you consider to be the most fundamentally valuable skill in the sense of self-sufficiency, survival type scenarios? Navigation, know where you're at, know how to navigate and read a map, and also get from point A to point B, and communications, like know how to communicate on the radio, how to work your radio, and those are gonna be the huge ones. Tactics and everything else can be taught to you, but you gotta at least know how to read a map and get from point A to point B, and comms.
Most people have cell phones, and you can buy nodes, especially with like family members, that are good for like out to a mile. So if you're going short distances, you Bluetooth connect to it, you can text them, hey, I'm here, this, that, and the third. From what I know, they're pretty low signature anyways, and so forth.
Yeah.
So and if you have multiple people in distance, the nodes will ping off each other. So if you're 10 miles away, but every half mile you have somebody, it'll still get those messages across.
Yeah. So Meshtastic, I think.
Yes.
Meshtastic. They also have Garmin has a device where you can text on it. You pay a monthly fee, but like if crap hits the fan, and that service is gone, like. So you got to find something like Meshtastic or radio comms. What is the bare minimum physical fitness standard that should be expected of a Minuteman?
Your heaviest rucksack over X amount of distance.
Yeah, so just go ruck. Rucking, obviously if you work out your legs and go running and stuff like that, that's good. Rucking, if you're gonna practice rucking, it's essentially getting really good at being used to pain. And how long can you deal with that pain over a long period of time?
Such a good analogy.
So for me, when it comes to rucking, I will always walk out my ruck distance. Like I just take huge strides. I never run. I run if I absolutely have to in an emergency, but like I will just stride it out, and it's lower impact on your body. It's not going to fatigue you as much. Big thing is energy preservation is going to be huge, but have the ability to run 1.5 miles or 2 miles. Have the ability to do a ruck. Do 50 push-ups at minimum if you have to do them. Do at least 8 pull-ups if you can, 6 to 8 pull-ups. That type of stuff. Can you pick up ammo cans and run them from one location to the other? That's the big thing, is do you have the ability to sustain yourself over a long period of time?
I would say rucking 10 miles is much more treacherous than running 2 miles or 5 miles.
Right, yeah. For gear setup, you should get the word out on the Crossfire DZ rig and their packs. I just bought these and I love them. And for my faith opinion, you should cover forgiveness for others and yourselves. Cool, Crossfire. I've seen their stuff, never run them. Maybe one day I'll run one, but just shout out for Crossfire. As far as the faith is forgiveness, that is one that is so difficult that I've always struggled with. And even I might say that I forgive somebody, but in my heart, I know that I haven't. And that's something that you have to sometimes ask the Lord for, is the ability to forgive. And that's one of those things, is like whenever I've had in my life where I don't forgive somebody, or I just like sit and stew on it, the only person really being hurt is me. Like it's destroying my heart. It makes you feel depressed or angry all the time. And it's such a huge weight. That's why God says to forgive, because he doesn't want you to carry that burden, right? Satan will use that unforgiveness to be able to burn a hole in your life and just bring you to ruin. And you'll have anxiety and depression and stress, a lack of trust for others. So you'll be isolated. Like there's so many things that stem from unforgiveness. And so when you start to forgive people, sometimes it takes practice too. I noticed for me, when I started to also try to remove my pride from my life and try to be humble as Christ is humble, I noticed that I start getting offended a lot less, right? I don't have an ego to defend. So I'll be the first one to say, like, I'm flawed. Like, I'm not perfect at all. Like, I suck. And that's why I need the Lord, and that's why his grace is so sufficient and incredible. Role, do pistol caliber carbines play in home defense and overall preparedness? So like a subgun, I would say it's good because you can run, pistol. If you have really thin walls, you don't want to have 5.56, especially in an apartment complex. That's tricky. But for me, I use PCCs or subguns whenever I'm traveling. So if I want to have a truck gun, I use something that's very easily suppressible, very quiet. Not so that way I can get into a fight, but if worst case scenario, emergency, break the glass type thing, I have the ability to egress and not bring a lot of attention to myself. So crap, it's the fan. You don't want to have everybody hearing what you're doing.
Right.
And but what do you think about that?
I think PCCs are also great for when it comes to like home self-defense for children and women. Those, because having a pistol, it takes a lot of understanding the grip, trigger press, everything like that. But with a rifle or like PCC, just straight to shoulder, you aim, point. Very simple, simplistic. You're not worrying about your grip, left, right, all this stuff. So I think that's a good. Children and women having PCs in the house, self-defense.
Yeah, actually, that's a great point. I will leave whenever I go on trips. My wife will use the subgun to be able to protect the home. Low recoil, really easy to use. Maybe you've shared it in an old video, but I would love to hear your testimony. So I actually share my testimony at the end of every class. I've never shared it online. I've never talked about what I did in a previous life. And I do that on purpose because it's one of those things where when guys come to class, it's an ability for me to share it directly to them and kind of get to know me more. But maybe one day I'll share it online, but that's a separate episode. What are your favorite pairs of boots if you can only grab 2 pairs? Keen and Keen. Keen and Keen. Do you have any?
Keen and Ultimas.
Ultimas?
Like Ultimas for like every day, they're really good with getting wet.
What do you like, Ed?
So I'm wearing oboes.
Oboes.
Oboes are, I forget who started them, but some guys left, I think, some guys left some other companies, I forget which.
Yeah.
And I want to say Keen might have been one of them, and they started Oboz, O-B-O-Z, and they're just really supportive. It's kind of like a cross between Merrell's and and Keens.
Nice. Okay. Well, oboes. I'm gonna have to check that out. You might get me to give up my my keens, bud.
Keen addiction?
Yeah, I have a keen addiction to keens. If you can only buy one 5.56 can, what would it be and why? Optimus 6. I did an Optimus 6 video pretty recently. You can watch that review. Optimus 6, hands down. What about you?
So I've had the Turbo T2, the Huxworks, and just recently got the Recce 5 from Griffin.
Yeah.
And I like the Griffin really well. So the T2 was great for the signature, shooting at night.
Yeah.
It was very low flash signature, but the Recce 5 is, I get really low, I think it's like Mod 4 or Mod 5, whichever one it is. Really low gas blowback.
Yeah.
Flash suppression is still really good.
Yeah.
Good sound signature. I think the Recce 5's grown on me.
Yeah.
Grown on
Guys, if you actually, we did Erin and I did a flash, can you spot the flash muzzle blast test? So we actually did that video recently. Go check it out. It was really interesting, some of the results that we saw about what flash and muzzle devices would expose you and the type of environment that would also give you away if you were in it. Tripod recommendation, por favor. 2 vets. I like 2 vets.
Yeah.
What do you like?
2 vets.
2 vets.
Yeah. They're simplistic, affordable for the most part, versus the other ones that are really expensive. So.
What was your God is real moment? Being a youth pastor and dying transplant patient. Wow. I've got a few, but love to hear more about the God I love. I would say that. Wow, that's a deep one. Huh. I would say when Roy, who used to be on the channel, when he came to the Lord, when Roy got saved, that was a massive holy smokes, God is real moment. God has continued to show himself more over and over and over again through people and circumstances. But when Roy accepted the Lord and he had a supernatural Jesus moment, absolutely incredible. If you go to Spotify and go to HatchetCast, on our podcast, on episode 28, Roy tells his testimony. Go listen to it. Absolutely incredible. Literally, if for those of you who knew Roy, he was like a no BS kind of guy. Like, I would talk about UFOs and cryptids and stuff like that. He's like, I don't want to hear it. It's not real. I can't see it. He had a supernatural physical encounter with God. But go check out episode 28. I think it'll bring you some encouragement, brother. And also, I'll be praying for you, man. That can be tough, and I'll be praying for, one, the Lord's healing, but also peace for you and your family. And man, I'll see you one day. We're all going to be there one day, so it'll be epic. But I'll be praying for you. Thoughts on the Sig Spear LT 5.56 versus regular AR-15 for use suppressed or crap hits the fan considering proprietary and expensive parts? I think you just said it in your comment. Sig Spear LT, the 16-inch was terrible because there's barrel flex. That's another conversation for another day. The 11.5, Roy actually used to run that. Now our buddy Dan runs the Sig Spear 11.5. Really good. It goes back to that. Expensive parts, hard to find. AR-15s, man, you gotta have one. Like if you have multiple ARs, and you're like, all right, I wanna kind of dip into that just to try it out, sure. But make sure you have an AR as your baseline. There's proprietary, tons of parts, aftermarket support, ammo compatibility, all of it. AR, what do you think?
Well, I'm trying to find an MCX, but they're just so expensive.
And they're hard to find.
They're hard to find.
Yeah.
Like you can build one, but by the time you build one, you might as well just buy a new one. So it's, yeah, they're expensive.
Do you suggest a flared magwell and 23-round mag for the M&P 2.0 or stock with 17? I actually have the big mags. When you run the competitor, you get the big giant mags. But whatever you can find. Yeah. And then flared magwell is amazing on my M&P. Like,
yes.
I love my flared magwell. You can buy aftermarket ones. They're easy to find.
If you can get the part number with the competitor, it comes with a kit, and there's a part number on there. If you can find that part number, you can get the flared magwell, the extended release, and it all comes with, I think it's like $100 or something. Yeah,
perfect. Is the broad topic, but suppressor mounting options for multi-caliber suppressors on different types of weapons, it gets confusing. I just find your one manufacturer and stick with them. Or find a suppressor that has hub compatibility so you can take off whatever QD hub and add it to your suppressor. But yeah, I wouldn't have like Surefire here and Huxworks here and Griffin here. Like just find one that's common, dead air, et cetera, et cetera.
Or have a dedicated can to that, to whatever weapon system you have.
Exactly. Is the podcast coming back? Yes, it's actually, we're recording another episode. We took a break for the summer just because of busy schedules, but it's coming back on Monday. Which rifle light doesn't bust in 500 rounds? Surefire.
Yeah.
I've never had a Surefire go down.
Yeah.
I've had clouds go down. I've had mod lights go down. I've never had a Streamlight go down.
No. I've cracked the glass on my TLR1, but then they replaced it with like a polycarbonate plastic.
Yep.
Fun fact, I just found out, whatever the specification says when you're tightening your pistol lights, for instance, on your pistols, if you over tighten it and drop it, it will bust every single one of them.
Oh.
So whatever the recommended spec is, leave it at that.
Oh, okay.
That's something I found out. I broke a few of those.
Dang. Yeah. I've also had a couple of Enforce lights that went out. But yeah, Surefire, you get what you pay for. But I would say Surefire, because sometimes you can get a cheap light and it's going to break. But or an expensive light and it'll break. If the average dude's SIG, Tread, or Springfield Saint were required for nonstop suppressive fire on the enemy, would the BCG last 15 to 20 straight mags? I don't know. Maybe. I mean, 15 mags, 20 mags, how many rounds is that?
I mean, what are we talking, like over a period of 5 minutes? Or
Yeah, is it all at once? I mean, whenever you add a ton of heat to a weapon system, you're going to have problems. So try to spread that out. Yeah. Which flow-through suppressor would you recommend? I've been looking at Sandman X. Sandman X is an amazing suppressor if you are wanting a multi-caliber. If you have a broad amount of different calibers you're going to put it on. If you're looking for 5.56 dedicated, Optimus 6. But the Sandman X is one of the best 30 cal cans out there. Low back pressure. What are your thoughts, Aaron?
I've only ran so far the Huxworks. I've had no issues with it. It's ran fine. I've also cleaned it quite often. I will say, first round pop, the muzzle flash is quite significant at night. So that's the only downside I think to it. Other than that, I've had no issues with it.
Faith-based. I carry concealed at church in a state that has a permission requirement. With all the crazy shootings that have targeted churches, I feel that it is important to protect my fellow brothers in Christ. But I have trouble vocalizing when I'm carrying concealed for the fact that I don't want to startle or alarm people who may embrace a philosophy of nonviolence. I don't want to be outed or exposed, I guess. The only time I don't carry is when I'm working child care, which I do once a month. What is your feeling on carrying concealed while at worship? I carry concealed, and the great thing about concealed carry is nobody knows.
Yeah.
And don't tell anybody, because if that does happen, and you do take that bad guy down, like no one's gonna be like, hey, how come you're carrying? Like, it's like, no, thank goodness you were carrying. So for me, and I'm not on a church security team, but I still carry concealed. Can you talk about godly suffering? I would say God does not bring suffering. We live in suffering because of sin on the earth. However, God will use those opportunities to give us those natural trials that sin brings us to build our character and build our faith and to test us and to make us more reliant on the Lord and to increase our faith. So, just continue to pray for help. God will never, let you go through anything that you can't handle. Even though you think that you can't handle it, God knows you best. He knows us more than anything. And so rely on the Lord. Peter walked on water, and God made that happen because he wanted his faith to be increased. But it took a storm for him to step out the boat. So God will use evil things that exist in the world through sin for his glory. Eating lunch. I will think about questions, reply later. When is there going to be more Car 15 content? My Car 15 is broken. Well, not broken, but the gas port's eroded, so it's just like beating itself to death. So I have to get, maybe Aegis Weapons will help me fix it.
Well, that'd be nice.
Yeah.
Cough, cough.
Yeah. Faith question. Lately, I've struggled with reconciling prepared citizen stuff with Jesus' repeated calls for peace. Even the OT stuff where God literally ethnically cleanses Canaan, its sovereign. God who does not, Old Testament. God who does it and not the subjects, Israelites, and I think that's an important distinction. Your thoughts? Well, you got to think about it. The God of the Old Testament and the God of the New Testament is the same God. He hasn't changed. But in the Old Testament, if you look at Genesis 6, there was a lot of corruption in the earth between the sons of God and the Nephilim that were in there, and there was giants and hybrid beings that were in existence. Huge, really deep subject to get into if you want to know more about it. There's a guy named Dr. Michael Heiser. He wrote a book called The Unseen Realm, and he also did a documentary on it. You can watch it for free. But go check that out. Really fascinating stuff about the spiritual realm and the Old Testament. He actually was a a professor that dealt specifically with the Old Testament. So go check that out. What do you think about that, Ed?
I think it's one of the books that helped me. I think it's one of the books that helped me understand the story arc of Christianity the most. I didn't really understand, and in so many ways I didn't understand what Christianity meant. I had a works-based understanding of my faith, and so it was one of the things that made me realize that there was so much more to this world than just the things that we see. The book, if I'm not mistaken, is called The Unseen Realm, and it brings into focus so many more things that I think that we all know are true on some level in our hearts, and we just don't, we get busy in our everyday lives, and it becomes very hard to dedicate mental and emotional energy to understanding these things and taking the context and applying that to our lives. And it's because there's so much that we don't know about what's black and white in the Bible, and there's so many things that are extrapolated. There's things that are referenced but not talked about in depth. And so there's this information, the Bible mentions Nephilim maybe a handful of times, but it doesn't really talk about them so much so to give us a complete picture of everything. It's a really great way to kind of kickstart your interest if you like history or even science fiction for that matter, because the stories are wild. It's stuff that you don't even understand, but it's a great way to kickstart kind of some interest in understanding Christianity. What do you believe in? Why do you believe it? So that's one of the things that in my faith I've really been digging into on a more deep way, and it's a level of interest where it's like if I don't have anything to do, I'm like, hey, maybe I should go listen to this book, or it's kind of a way to relax too. It's not something that takes energy from me. It's something that gives me energy. It's something that stimulates my mind and my thought processes.
You went from a lot of SPR videos and talk to running the 14.5 with a 2 to 10. What is current build and why the specific change? SPR stuff, I still love running SPRs. As far as the current build 14.5, it just fulfills so many roles. But for me, with being in the YouTube space, I'm constantly changing equipment, and it's not by choice. Like, you got to review stuff, you got to change stuff up. Now, I do have my personal stuff that I don't change, that I teach with, that stays the same. But it's one of the, everybody thinks like, oh, that's so cool, you get to try all this. It's like, yeah, it's good, but sometimes from a training perspective, I just want to run my thing, and not have to change anything up. So I'm running the 14.5 right now. It has the 2 to 10 from Leopold, but I still love busting out the SPR and working some distance.
How do you like the Leopold compared to the Credo?
So I'm actually talking about doing a battle of the 2 to 10. So there's the Vortex 2 to 10, the Leopold 2 to 10, and the Trijicon Credo 2 to 10. Eventually, I'm going to do a video comparing all three, and so we'll see. Right now, dude, that Leopold 2 to 10 is freaking blowing my mind. It's been awesome.
Sorry, the ports can't afford it.
Yeah. I make t-shirts with fairly detailed drawings of my rifle and in scripture. I'd love to send a few to you guys. Would y'all be open to that? Yeah, sure. I think you should find a way to shift focused from fear-based action to a general baseline for preparation focus. You post far too many fear-driven videos for how Christian you are. For me, I'm only talking about things that concern me to you guys, because you guys are a community, and I'm like, I think this is important. Now, whether that scares you or doesn't scare you, that's up to you. For me, my flesh will usually be scared of things that happen around the world, and I remember there's nothing to be afraid of. Like, I have the Lord, and I am not perfect. And so am I being too Christian? Sometimes I feel like I'm not being Christian enough. And I wouldn't even say being super Christian. I would say I'm always striving to learn how to rely on God more and let Him take my worries and fears. And everything else is just information at that point. Yeah, I agree. You shouldn't live your life in fear, but you also should have a healthy understanding of what's going on in the world for your situational awareness. For merch, let's see. let's see here. All right, weapons, gear, tactics, most former retired military. That group is less than 1% of the entire population. Combat veterans, even less. At the very least, these folks have a basic understanding of what you're teaching. Okay, so I think it's just a general statement. What's your take on the Epstein files and the Trump administration?
I think we all stand on the same foot with that one.
I'm just going to say this. The truth will always prevail, no matter what. The truth will eventually come out, no matter what in life. The truth will always prevail. Non-carry environment tools. I carry a carabiner with keys and a Nightcore 6500 lumen light. Looking for more input ideas. Financial preps as a peace of mind preparation and sound steward. Jesus Christ Redeemer. I would say, for me, like I have an EDC video that I put out a while ago. That has slightly changed a little bit. But I always carry a knife. I always carry a flashlight in my fanny pack. I carry a fanny pack because it's convenient. To my wife's protest.
It's a waist pack.
It's a waist pack, yeah.
There you go.
So I carry a light, obviously wallet and stuff like that. I will also carry like a lens cloth for my glasses. I carry a spare mag with my M&P 2.0 compact and a Leatherman. Like it's multi-use. So as far as that, whatever you feel like you think you should need that can fulfill multiple different roles is probably what I think would recommend to carry. And also where it's not miserable. Because if it's miserable, you won't carry it.
At minimum, I carry my M&P and a Leatherman.
Yeah.
At most, I'll have that, a flashlight, my waist pack, you know, stuff like that. But at minimum, you know, with a Leatherman, you can do so many different things, cut a seatbelt off, do whatever. And then, of course, you know, you need your cordless hole puncher.
Yeah.
So.
Dude, so last question. Next question for posters. You can't make any decision on their own. Do I wear my underwear inside or out? If it's dirty and you got no laundry, you just flip them inside out, bud, and then you got another pair. So that is all the questions. Actually, I think there's one more post that had a couple of guys that were last minute. How do you like the stock and how is it with the LPVO setup? So the one he's referencing is the 14.5, the new Magpul stock. I love it. It's amazing. I wish I had on every rifle. How do you like the Leopold 2-10? TBD, but right now I'm loving it. What caliber rifle, 5.56 or 308?
5.56.
5.56, yeah. I love the SCAR, and it's amazing as a DMR roll, but 5.56. You get more ammo, and ammo is time. You get more time, whether it's covering fire, whether it's covering your own movement, whether it's pinning down an enemy so that way you can maneuver. Ammo is time, so whatever allows you to carry more ammo.
You gotta think, regardless of the distance, if something's flying at you, you're taking cover.
Yes.
So,
Yep.
doesn't matter if it's 22, if it's 5.56, 308. If you hear go, meow, you're ducking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So guys, hopefully you got something out of that Q&A session. You know, my big intent for this channel is to essentially, you know, answer your guys' questions. I'm a part of the community just like you. And you know, this channel belongs to the Lord, and I'm just trying to do what's honorable for Him and to also spread the gospel. So if you guys are going through a hard time, or you're going through, maybe you had a prayer request that you commented on in a previous post and you want me to see it directly, you can email me at team@barrelhatchet.com. The biggest thing, guys, is we are running this race of life, and we were all put here for a very specific purpose and intent. And you know, once you find out what the Lord is doing for you in your life, it brings you so much fulfillment that cannot be replaced. And so if you're looking for that, or you're struggling to find purpose, or you want to know more about who Jesus is and what He can do for your life and how He can develop you as a warrior and the type of warrior that He is, you can email me at team@barrelhatchet.com or comment on this video. But guys, I love every single one of you. It's an amazing blessing and an honor to be a part of this community. So train to be an eternal asset. My name is Eric, and I'll see you on the next one.